Welcome to day 19. Well, a lot of things are going to be happening today and I'm going to be all over the place, so try to bear with me on this one. But the main thing that I want to explain is that arrived today. Now what this is a conversion kit that goes from the standard Skyline alternator to a GM LS 140 amp, which this is, and this is all the necessary hardware to do that. So I'm going to do a few other things first and then I'll get into this. Okay, so the dude next door has finally finished mowing his lawn and cleaning everything up, so I can actually speak. I didn't want to wait until he was finished because sometimes he takes quite a while doing it. He's a lawnmower man by trade, so yeah, he does the job right. But anyway, this is the battery tray and it's designed for a pissy little battery about that big. I want to put a bigger one in there because I will be running that power steering pump and everything like that. So as well as upgrading the alternator to an LS, I also want a larger battery in here. Now the battery that I've got comes out to about here. So what I will be doing is I've got the trusty old spot weld drill bit on. I'll just drill out these spot welds through here. I'll take this off. I'll hammer it flat so it'll come out, and I'll weld it onto here so it'll come out to about here. Then I will clean it up, give it a bit of paint. Should be good to go. What a nut job. Sure she was dropped on her head as a pup. Yeah, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be right back. And there we go, that's in. So there's new lines, terminal protectors, new clamp system, and by comparison, this here is the stock one that's recommended for it. So as you can see, there's a big difference. Height wise it's comparable. Depth wise, the other battery is about this much deeper. And as you can see by the length, we could all use a little length, couldn't we ladies? And there's the difference. So, job done. So this is something that I've been thinking about for a little while now. Now, as you know, blow-off valves are illegal in, well, most states in Australia, and as a result I will be mounting that down in here. But still, the problem exists where is if you were to drive around near a cop or anything like that and they hear that go off, you'll be pulled over, defected straight away, and your day is looking a little bit more miserable because you'll have to take time off work to take it to the local mechanic to get it sorted out. So what I've been thinking is putting in a valve in between here. Now this is the hose that actually makes the BOV go off. So what I found is this little fella here. Now this is a 3-bar valve. So the way that I'm going to hook it up is I'll have the air pressure coming in here, and then when I flick my happy switch and engage the boost controller, it will allow the air to pass through and activate the BOV. Now if you're around Mr. Plod or you're just driving off boost or on low boost, this here will basically just be blanked off. So then what will happen is instead of hearing the BOV go off, you will get that flutter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire this up to the boost controller, tap in and see how it goes. Should work. I can't see why not. Okay, so what I've done is I've just snuck these wires into this connector to the boost controller. I've tested it, it works fine. And I just have a piece of spare cable that's running to the unit. I've chopped this, placed this in between, and I'm about to road test it. Okay, this is with it off. Now with the boost controller on. That works. Off. I am in an 80k zone, by the way, so I'm not doing anything illegal. See? 80. Controller on, 60k zone, and she works. Alright, that's a keeper. So with this job here, what I've done is I've taken out the stock fuel pressure regulator, and I'll be putting this one on, which is an adjustable, which we found on that manifold I spoke about in a previous video. So Nismo make one like this. So I don't know if it's a Nismo knockoff. I can't see any writing or anything pertaining to Nismo or Nissan or anything like that on it, but it's adjustable rising rate, so we'll see how that goes. If it works, it works. Awesome, but if not, then I'll have to go with an external like a Malpassi or something like that. But yeah, that's his job. Okay, so another thing that I did off camera is I have replaced these side lights here and I've converted those into indicators. I did mention it in a previous video somewhere. And that's what I was going to be doing. So these are now indicators, and if you can see that red taped end down here, that is the park light wiring loom. So what I will be doing is I have bought these, and these are little mini strip lights. I've cut them down to size, and that will fit in here and run the length. Sorry, two hands here, up to that line there. So what they'll do is I will wire up a circuit where I can run these as both a daytime light, so that comes on as soon as you start the car, and also if you do put your parkers on, which is just the one click on the headlight, which is your minor globe, not your headlights but your minor globe, which these once were, this will light up and stay lit up. And the other good thing about it is, I'm not sure if you can quite see it, but there is a secondary row of LEDs at the back there, and they are indicators. So while you can still see this from the front of the car as it's heading towards you, with these on here, that will give me a secondary illumination of indicator, so it will keep it legal. and you have to have these excuse me, you actually have to have a white light up front when you put your parkers on. At the moment there isn't one, so I'll be wiring that up tomorrow, and I will be putting a bead of silicon along there and taping it down and leaving that overnight. So hopefully that will stay put, and then I'll wire it into the park light, as well as this one right here, which is the indicator. I'll actually run a set of wires up through this gap here, and I'll use a Deutsch connector to have that on at the same time. So what I also did is I will change these out for LEDs as well. I'll just put the hazards on. So that looks a lot better LED. It actually was quite dim before with the incandescent globe. And these are SMD LEDs as well. So you can see that from the front of the car. But once that light's on here, you won't be able to miss it. And it'll look pretty sexy, hopefully. If not, then I'll just take it off and go with the secondary backup, which is for a couple of small mini strip lights, which I can mount in this, just up underneath there. But I really didn't want anything on the bumper, so hopefully this will do the job. If not, like I said, I'll go here. But yeah, that's progress. So these were going to be my backup lights, just in case the strip lights didn't work out. But this is some real nasty, cheap Chinese shit. I wouldn't put this crap on a bicycle. You know, there's no sealant in the back there. It's just poked a wire straight through, and these are supposed to be for automotive use. That is as thin as paper. Look at it. You just look at it and it bends. But yeah, good on you, China. You definitely make some nasty shit. And these are supposed to be, like I said, for automotive use. But what I'll probably be better off doing is I'll try the strip light out first. If that doesn't work, then I will look at something like a Hella and spend the money and get something decent, but not this crap. This is just shit. Made in China. Awesome. You should be proud of yourselves. Yep. So another thing is this wing that I've been working on. I sort of like it, but I sort of don't. I don't know. I really don't know. I probably have to really finish it and then put it on and see how it looks. I know some of you will probably be saying,
ew, get off. Oh my god.
Until it's all sorted out, and sort of, I'll put it in undercoat, see if I can find a white undercoat, and have a look at it afterwards. I don't know. Sort of, I did sort of like the concept, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it, because then that, by comparison, I think looks a lot cleaner, neater. I'm more than likely going to go with that, but I still want to sort this out and at least give it a go. No harm in trying. So something else that I seriously have to consider doing is either dropping the suspension down a bit, because when I had it lower, see this here? Well, on full lock, this is what's happening. It's actually chewing the tyre out. Hope you can pick that up. So I've got two options. I lower it, which is something I really don't want to do, because I don't want to, well, with my 32 I had it about yay far off the ground, and I ended up damaging the front bar, the exhaust system, you name it. Speed bumps it hated, coming in and out of driveways it hated. So I really don't want to do that if I can help it. I mean, it still looks pretty decent, but the other option is that I take this and I massage it away, because it's only just touching on it. You can see there's not much, it's not really grabbing it, it's just scraping it. So if I was to give that a nudge in, hopefully that'll solve the problem, and then I won't have to lower it any more than what it is, because it is still quite low. But like I said, I don't want to destroy speed bumps or destroy the car on speed bumps like I did with my 32. That front bar was pretty damaged by the time that yeah, that had seen some punishment. So anyway, that's another thing I need to address. I do need to change the tyres, so I don't know whether the next tyre I put on, whether I put a lower profile on, which will give me a little bit more clearance here, and that will drop the car down just a little bit as well. So that's also an option. These tyres, even though the front ones are pretty good, someone has been enjoying themselves on the rears, because there's not a great deal of tread on them, and you probably won't be able to pick this up, but I don't know if you can see all the rubber. See it all there? Hopefully you can see it. So somebody's been having some fun with it as well. It wasn't me, but yeah, the tyres do need addressing on the rears. There's still enough tread in there, don't get me wrong, but towards the inside it starts to become a lot shallower in the grooves, and that's because the guy had this right up under here, and what that's done is that has changed the camber to this, because the suspension arm is flat. So by lowering the vehicle, you're changing the camber, and there are no camber adjustments on the arms underneath there. So what it's done is it's worn the inside of the tyre out. So I do need to put new tyres on. I also will be putting a camber adjustment kit on it, but if I can avoid dropping it, I will, because that's not too bad. That's 2 fingers, and at least then I won't have problems with speed bumps, and I won't destroy the front bar. So yeah, that's another thing that needs to be addressed. Greetings. Well, this is a tutorial to show you how to actually install a LS 140 amp alternator plus the kit into an RB Skyline. So this here is the part number. I'm not sure if you can pick that up. It's 920588857, and this was the box that it came in. So it's a genuine GM, it's a 140 amp, and this connector is exactly the same one that is used in the Skyline. The only thing that is different is this is an M8 and the one on the Skyline is an M6, so we need to drill that cable. Then there's also this kit from CWC, comes with a new pulley, all the necessary hardware to do it. First things first, I need to get this pulley off. Okay, so what I'm using here is my little rattle gun or torque gun and a 24mm. That should be enough to get it off, and it is. That's the one we need to get on, and it is a snug fit, a real snug fit. Now you don't want to hit this down, but it's the worst thing you can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the oven to heat it up a little bit, and I'll be right back. So you bake it at 200 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes until it's golden brown. Et voila! And if you don't know what 200 degrees Celsius is, and you're living in one of those 3 countries that still use the imperial system instead of metric, not only do I feel sorry for you, but you work out the conversion yourself. But that's on. Okay, so this has had a chance to cool down. Get that nut on there, torque it down. Bob's your only. So we're going from a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peak to a 1, 2, 3, 4 peak. So there's just one more peak on the belt difference between the LS and the Skyline. But that's good to go. Yeehaw. Okay, now that's done. No longer need that. I'll get all this together, get it over to the car, time to install. So the next step is to get the alternator off. So I need to loosen off the tensioner here. Once that's done, I can then slide the belt out of the way, and then right down the bottom there is another bolt that needs to be loosened off, and then that can then come out. Now I'm hoping I can do all that without having to drop that hose, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so unfortunately I can't get this bolt out because my thermofan's in the way. So I'm quickly going to undo the 4 bolts holding it on, and then I'll pull that out, and then the alternator can come with it. I shall be right back. Okay, I got it out. It's very similar in that there is an earth strap on one, and then a connection for a cable clamp on the other, and this also has both of those, and they're both 10mm. Yep. So before I go into the brackets, what I will show you is that this is being held down by that nut there. Now this is the original nut that came off the back of it, and this one here is flopping around after I took this one off. So with the kit came this. So I think what you're supposed to do is put that on, and then that will solve the problem. There we go. So that's what that extra nut is for. Instructions don't come with this thing, so you've got to nut it out for yourself, but this will help you along your way. So yeah, tighten that down, and then when you go to put your cable on, that goes next. Simple. Okay, something else I just worked out. This is a cable that attaches to the rear of the alternator, and from memory, on the GTR, I believe that is an M6. That is an M8 hole. So just be careful with this. You might want to disconnect your battery if you're if you don't think that you're cautious enough. Then disconnect your battery, but that is live, which is why I keep putting the shroud over it. But on the GDR, I believe that is an M6, and you'll have to drill it out to an M8, which means you need about an 8.5 or a 9mm hole in order to get that over this. So GDR owners, just be aware, because they use a higher amp alternator, and I think it's because it's different, you may need to drill your terminal out. So just keep that in mind. This is an RB25, and that are both exactly the same size. They're both M8s. So you won't have to do anything about that if you're a 25, possibly a 20 owner. But for a 26, you may need to drill your terminal out. Keep that one in mind. Okay, so the first thing I've noticed is putting these side by side. This here, there's the sense plug. Okay, so this here was the lower part. That was the pivot point. And then this bolt went through. And then this was on the end of that. So that, the distance between here and here is the same as the distance between here and here. So with that, on that, I think now this bolt, which came with the kit, is now the new one for here, and you probably have to reuse that. But I think you also need to place a spring washer and then a flat washer on that, through there, then onto there. So that replaces the stock pivot point, bolt and spacer. That's the first part. Now I'll get around to this one. So let me set that up and I'll show you. Okay, so the next part is, there's the pivot point that we just discussed, right here. The original washer. That's where the spacer used to sit. So the sense plug is on this side here. If you're looking at it like this. So this here is our new adjustment point. So you have an M10 hole here and an M8 hole here. So this goes on here with this bolt, which came with the kit, spring washer, up underneath. 1 second. And then place this on here. Then this here will go to the original adjuster, which is the same thread as that. So you need to use the original adjuster on that side here with the block. That side goes to the alternator. Now I have noticed that I have a nut and a washer left over, and I think that may be for this. So rather than use the original nut or that at the end of the bolt, I think we are supposed to use that. So this is what I'm going to try. If it doesn't work, then I'll revert back to this, but I believe that's what the extra nut and washer is for. Now what is left over is this Allen key bolt, as well as 2 washers, a spring washer and a flat washer, and that is probably for whichever one of these the earth strap went onto. I can't remember which one it was, but when I put it in I'll know. And then one of these original ones will be for the cable clamp that was also attached to the back of that. So that's no more kit pieces left. So I believe that is how it should be, and we're going to test that. So what I did have to do when I took my shroud off, I had to remove my top hose, and it will make it a bit easier to get in there if you guys do the same. So just bear that one in mind. So now I'm going to put you on time lapse and get this thing in and see if what I thought is supposed to happen is supposed to happen, or if I failed. Here we go. Okay, so that is in, and it's exactly how I thought it should go. So as you can see, away from this dickheads and their sludge pumps, piece of shit Harley crap. Anyway, that's the way it is supposed to go, and then this here connects up to your stock tensioner, but that was a really tight fit. So that's a 4-peak 850 on here. If you are rebuilding the engine from scratch or your belts are crappy, I would suggest probably going with maybe an 860 or an 870, because that was a bit of a bitch to get on. But I'll put the tensioner in now. Sense plug down here is facing in the right direction, so I'll be able to plug that back in, and then I'll put the terminal back on, and then I will get both this clamp here and this strap here on the rear, which were those 2 little 10mm. I think what I will do is, rather than go with this, which came with the kit, I'm just going to use the original 2 10mm, because I can easily get a socket on that. Getting a hex into that is going to be a nasty piece of work, so that one can go. This one here, now I did end up using the stock little square bracket nut that came off the back of this, because when you're trying to tighten this up, the nut at the back is just spinning. So once you've tensioned it all and you go to tighten up the pivot point, you will then need to try and get a spanner right down the very bottom there to hold the nut that came with it, this nut. So that is also not going to be used, but I did use that squarish flat one. Reason I did is because of the shape of it. You don't need to get a spanner behind it because it just sits on the block, so you can just tighten it up from the front side of the pivot point. So that's what I've learned out of this. So So that wasn't too bad. Once I nutted it out, it was pretty straightforward. So now I'm just going to tighten up the shroud, put the rad hose back on and start her up. Right, everything is now hooked up. I've double checked everything, so it's all tight, good to go. So this nut here wasn't a total loss, so when I put this in storage it'll help keep that together. Still didn't use that though. I don't think that would have been an easier option than the 210mm that came with it, so didn't use that. But anyway, I'll start the car. So that's all in now. I've started the car and it's perfect, not a problem. So that there I bought from Just Jap. When I was doing my research on them, I did see the brackets and the pulley were made by other companies, and you really don't know what sort of quality you're getting, but with Just Jap you're getting a good quality item. The alternator itself is a GM, genuine GM. It's not some cheap Chinese rubbish that they don't give a crap about quality and just throw crap out the door. They just want to make money. So your choice. You either buy something that might fail in 2 weeks or a year or whatever, or you could buy something that could probably last the life of the engine. And to me it makes sense to pay that bit extra. I think if I was to go with the cheaper option I could have saved myself $200, but at what cost in the long run? So Just Jap, ordered it Monday afternoon. They're on the eastern seaboard, I'm on the western seaboard, and I received it on a Wednesday afternoon. That's Just Jap for you. So anyway guys, that's day 19 down, and it was a little bit of a mashup of all different sorts of things, but yeah. So the next thing is hopefully the turbo will rock up within the next week or so, and then I can make a start on that. But until then, stay safe and I will see you on the next one, day 20. Catch you guys.